heinous crimes that made headlines. True crime stories documentary. Before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed, because the deeper we go into cases like this, the darker it gets. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. The parking garage beneath the Northwood Corporate Tower was a place most employees rushed through at the end of the day. The fluorescent lights flickered, the echo of footsteps bounced off concrete pillars, and every sound felt just a little too loud. But on a rainy Thursday night in March, those echoes carried something the building security team would never forget: a sharp metallic clang, a muffled struggle, and then silence. By the time the overnight security shift began their routine patrol, the silence had turned oppressive. They found the victim, 32-year-old analyst Daniel Mercer, sprawled beside his car, half in shadow, half in the harsh white glow of a flickering light. He was unconscious, bleeding, and his phone was smashed into 3 pieces on the concrete. His briefcase lay open, papers scattered like fallen leaves. Within minutes, police sirens pierced the night. Detective Lena Hartley, a sharp and unflinching investigator known for piecing together the most fragmented of cases, arrived on the scene. She crouched beside Daniel, her gloved fingers brushing the strange smear of mud on the ground where it didn't belong, a mix of soil and construction dust. Odd, considering the garage had been cleaned 2 days earlier. Next to the smear lay something more alarming: a single black glove, resting too neatly to have simply fallen during the attack. Beside it, faint impressions of tool marks etched into the metal railing suggested a struggle that had lasted longer than the short burst of noise heard on the cameras. But it was the cameras themselves that raised the biggest questions. Surveillance footage captured only shadows, a figure moving with precision, hugging the blind spots, slipping between angles as if they knew exactly where the cameras couldn't see. It wasn't random. It wasn't impulsive. It was planned. As paramedics rushed Daniel to the hospital, Detective Hartley turned to the grainy playback again and again. The attacker's movements were too controlled, too deliberate. Whoever did this hadn't come to rob him. They had come for him specifically. The next morning, the investigation shifted into full gear. Detectives combed through Daniel's phone logs, piecing together fragments from cloud backups. One string of messages stood out: a heated exchange with a co-worker, Jason Klein, a mid-level operations manager with a temper that had already earned him multiple HR write-ups. 3 weeks earlier, Jason had been formally disciplined after a confrontation in the office. Daniel, known for his meticulous work ethic, had filed a report after catching Jason falsifying documentation. The consequence had been a suspension, and according to co-workers, Jason hadn't taken it well. Rumors circulated that he blamed Daniel for ruining his career. But rumors weren't enough. Detective Hartley visited Daniel's department the following morning. The office floor was a maze of cubicles, each one buzzing with nervous whispers as she approached Jason's desk. He wasn't there. His computer was off, his chair pushed in neatly. "Is Jason in today?" Hartley asked the nearest co-worker. The woman swallowed hard. "No, he called in sick. First time in months." That single sentence set off alarm bells. Investigators moved quickly. Surveillance teams were assigned to watch Jason's apartment. His workplace computer was seized. HR provided records of his disciplinary actions. And when detectives obtained preliminary access to his email, they found something chilling: multiple drafts of unsent messages to Daniel. Some apologetic, others seething with rage. Still, nothing directly tied him to the garage. Not yet. Meanwhile, Daniel regained consciousness at the hospital. His memory was foggy, fragmented by trauma and the blow to his head. But when Detective Hartley visited, he said something that changed the tone of the entire investigation. "I remember footsteps behind me," he whispered. Then a voice, low, angry. Someone said, "I warned you." The phrase matched a message Jason had allegedly said weeks earlier during an office argument. But Hartley couldn't rely on association alone. That night, police surveillance on Jason's building finally paid off. Officers observed him leaving his apartment with a duffel bag, moving fast, frequently checking behind him. He tossed the bag into his trunk and drove off. Detectives followed at a distance through downtown traffic until he pulled into an industrial district on the outskirts of the city. Jason stepped out, looked around nervously, and opened the duffel bag. Detectives zoomed in through telephoto lenses. enough to see him shove clothing and what looked like small metal tools into a dumpster behind an abandoned warehouse. It was enough for a judge to authorize a search warrant. At 2:13 a.m., officers raided Jason's apartment. Inside, they found a pair of boots with fresh mud that matched the strange soil from the parking garage floor. Beneath his bed, tucked behind storage boxes, they discovered a crowbar with markings consistent with the tool impressions left at the scene. But the most damning evidence lay inside his bathroom cabinet, a matching black glove, identical in brand and size to the one found beside Daniel's body. Jason was arrested on the spot, insisting he had nothing to do with the attack. He claimed he'd been framed, said he'd lost his glove weeks ago, and that the crowbar was for home repairs. But his explanations were shaky, and his nervous demeanor did little to help him. Still, Detective Hartley wasn't satisfied. Something felt too clean, too easy. Yes, Jason had motive. Yes, the evidence put him close to the scene. But there was an undercurrent in the case she couldn't ignore, the feeling that a deeper story waited beneath the surface, something more complex than a workplace grudge gone violent. She reviewed the surveillance footage one more time late that night, replaying the attacker's movements frame by frame. Something clicked, a pattern in the way the figure moved, an odd limp, a slight tilt of the head. These were traits Jason's co-workers never mentioned. And then she saw it one brief moment where the shadow silhouette looked nothing like Jason. Heart pounding, she zoomed in on a single frame, dark and distorted but undeniable. The attacker was wearing not one glove, but two. Yet only one glove had been found at the scene, which meant someone had planted a matching glove in Jason's apartment. Detective Hartley froze. She whispered the words no investigator wants to speak at this stage of case. This wasn't just premeditated, it was staged. And the second she realized that, she knew something even worse. The real attacker was still out there. Detective Lena Hartley barely slept after her discovery. The eerie stillness of Jason Klein's holding cell, the planted glove, the staged evidence, none of it added up. She stood in the dim glow of her office, replaying each frame, each clue, each inconsistency. Beneath the noise of the investigation was a rhythm she recognized all too well: manipulation. Someone had gone to extraordinary lengths not only to hurt Daniel Mercer, but to make sure the wrong man took the fall. And that meant one terrifying thing: the attacker wasn't desperate. They were confident. By sunrise, the precinct hummed with debate. Some detectives argued that Jason's apartment held enough incriminating items to proceed with charges. The boots, the crowbar, the glove, it all pointed to him. But Hartley refused to let the case slip into the comforting simplicity of the obvious. Just after 8, she received a call from the hospital. Daniel Mercer was awake enough for another interview. His memory was still fractured, like shards of glass that refused to align, but there was something he remembered, something important. Hartley rushed to the hospital room, her notebook ready. Daniel's face was pale, stitches above his eyebrow, bruises darkening along his jaw. He stared at her with a seriousness that pushed through the pain. "There was someone else," he said, his voice strained. "Someone who knew things about me, personal things, things I never talked about at work." Hartley leaned in. "Someone besides Jason." Daniel hesitated. "Yes, and they said my name. Not shouted, not angry, more like," he paused, searching for the right word, "like they were disappointed." That single detail cracked open the narrative. Disappointment wasn't the emotion of a co-worker with a grudge, it was something deeper, more intimate. Hartley felt the shift immediately. "Did you recognize a voice?" she asked. Daniel winced. "I think I've heard it before, but I can't place it." Hartley left the room with a tightening in her chest. The case was evolving into something more personal than workplace conflict. But whose voice had Daniel heard? And who had access to the level of detail required to frame Jason so perfectly? Back at the precinct, she worked through Daniel's recent contacts, his home life, his financial records, even old case files of internal misconduct. And that's when she found something that changed the tone of her investigation entirely. A complaint, filed quietly in HR 6 months prior. The name on the form, Daniel Mercer. The subject of the complaint, harassment by a senior team leader, Patrick Rowe. Hartley frowned. Rowe wasn't anywhere in the investigation, so far almost suspiciously absent. A polished, respected figure on Daniel's floor. No disciplinary history. No reputation for outbursts. Clean on paper, but clean didn't mean innocent. She headed straight to Northwood Corporate Tower. Patrick Rowe's corner office overlooked the city skyline. He greeted her with a calm smile that didn't reach his eyes, hands folded neatly on his desk. "Detective Hartley," he said, "I heard about the attack. Terrible thing. I hope Daniel recovers quickly." Hartley watched him carefully. His tone was steady, precise, almost rehearsed. "You worked closely with him?" Rowe nodded. "He's talented, dedicated, sometimes too dedicated. You know how it is corporate environments, pressure, stress." "Daniel filed a complaint against you," Hartley said, watching for the slightest shift. Rowe blinked once. Slow. That. Misunderstanding. Really, I asked him to revise some numbers he'd submitted. He took it personally. These days, you have to tread carefully. His explanation was neat. Too neat. Hartley asked where he'd been the night of the attack. Rowe answered immediately. "At home, preparing a presentation. Alone, unfortunately. That means no alibi." He smiled faintly as if amused. Most people nervous under questioning fidgeted, sweated, stumbled, but Rowe's composure was unnerving. Then Hartley noticed something, a bandage across 2 fingers on his left hand. "How'd you get that?" she asked. Rowe glanced down. "Cut myself opening a box." Her instincts tightened like a coiled spring. Meanwhile, detectives executed a warrant on the dumpster where Jason had discarded the duffel bag. They discovered clothes, tools, and buried beneath the rubble a small cloth pouch with an embroidered symbol on the corner, a company-issued security access pouch, the kind used only by senior employees. Jason wasn't authorized to have one. Hartley's suspicion grew. She returned to the footage, pausing on the attacker's movements. The limp, the tilt of the head. She pulled up Rowe's HR file, scanning for medical records. Only one note stood out: a minor spinal injury from a ski accident 2 years earlier, resulting in a permanent right side lean when walking. A detail perfectly matching the figure in the footage. Things spiraled quickly. Hartley sent officers to quietly monitor Rowe's movements. She authorized a deeper search of his digital footprint. That's when the case cracked open, but not in the direction she anticipated. Rowe had accessed Daniel's HR files multiple times in the last 3 months. Not for official reasons. His keycard logs placed him in restricted areas late at night. And worse, he'd used his corporate credentials to pull Jason's disciplinary reports. He knew everything. The perfect ingredients to build a frame. Hartley felt her pulse rising. She drafted a motion to obtain a search warrant for Rowe's home. Approval was expected within hours. She briefed her team, preparing for what could be a defining arrest. But then the call came. Rowe wasn't at his office anymore. Security checked the building. His car was gone. His desk was cleared. Every photo frame empty. Every personal file wiped. And according to one receptionist, he'd walked out with a calm smile, saying he had a meeting outside the city. Hartley's heart dropped. She ordered an immediate APB. Officers flooded the city's highways. Detectives canvassed Rowe's neighborhood. But Rowe had vanished like smoke. Then, an hour later, something chilling happened. A package arrived at the precinct, addressed to Detective Hartley. It was small, brown, unmarked. Inside was a single item, a photograph of Daniel Mercer, taken weeks earlier, inside the corporate garage. The angle was intimate. Close. Too close. Someone had been watching Daniel long before the attack. On the back of the photo was a handwritten message in elegant, measured script. "You're looking in the right direction, but you're still steps behind." No signature, no fingerprints, just the unmistakable implication. Patrick Rowe was not running. He was leading them somewhere. Hartley clenched the photo as a team rushed around her, alarms raised, radios crackling. The case was no longer about solving an assault. It was about stopping a predator who had planned this far longer and far deeper than anyone had realized. And then the call came through from dispatch. "Detective Hartley, we found something at Rowe's residence. You might want to get here immediately." There was a long pause. "It's a second glove. The missing glove. The one the real attacker wore." And at that moment, Hartley knew Jason Klein wasn't just innocent. He was bait. Detective Lena Hartley sped toward Patrick Rowe's residence with sirens slicing through the cold morning air. The city blurred past her windshield, a maze of lights and motion, but her focus tunneled into one thought: the second glove. The missing piece that proved Rowe had stood in that dark garage, moving in the shadows like a ghost who already knew where every camera was blind. By the time she pulled up to the elegant townhouse Rowe called home, forensics teams were already working. Officers stood guard at the perimeter, radios crackling with tension. The front door hung open, splintered from the forced entry. Hartley stepped inside. The house was immaculate. Too immaculate. No signs of a struggle. No sense of urgency. Rowe hadn't fled in panic. He'd left deliberately, methodically, as if he'd known they were coming and wanted them to see what he'd left behind. In the center of the living room sat a small table. On it, the matching black glove, a printed photo of Daniel Mercer, and a USB drive labeled simply, "Watch." Hartley inserted the USB into a forensic laptop. A single video file appeared, timestamped 1 week before the attack. Rowe's face filled the screen. He sat calmly, almost serenely, hands folded in his lap. Behind him, Hartley recognized the interior of his office at Northwood Corporate Tower. "I assume you're watching this, Detective," he began. His voice was smooth, steady. "If you found this file, then things are progressing exactly as intended." Hartley's stomach tightened. Rowe continued, "You are thorough, consistent, meticulous. Qualities I admire. Qualities Daniel shared before he betrayed my trust." He leaned forward slightly, eyes cold. "You think this is about workplace conflict, a disciplinary report, a complaint filed in HR. It isn't. It never was." The video flickered for a second. Rowe's expression shifted, the faintest hint of hatred surfacing beneath the calm. "Daniel did something unforgivable. He destroyed a project I spent years developing. One mistake from him cost me everything I had built within the company. So I studied him, learned his routines, his habits, his secrets." He paused, and when the time came, I chose Jason Klein because he was volatile enough to look guilty and careless enough that the world would believe he was capable of violence. The video ended abruptly. Hartley stared at the blank screen, feeling the weight of what she had just heard. This wasn't just personal revenge. Rowe had planned every step with surgical precision. He'd attacked Daniel, planted evidence, manipulated digital records, and orchestrated a frame so convincing it nearly held. But he hadn't gone far. Not yet. One of the forensic techs approached Hartley. "Detective, you need to see the basement." She followed him down a narrow staircase. The basement was stark concrete walls, exposed pipes, cold air that smelled faintly of oil. But one wall stood out, covered in pinned documents, printed emails, photos of Daniel Mercer from different angles, even screenshots of his digital calendar. Rowe hadn't just watched Daniel. He had documented his entire life. Pinned to the center of the wall was a map of the city with red string connecting key locations: Daniel's home, his gym, his favorite cafe, the garage where he'd been attacked. And then Hartley saw the newest pin, a location not yet visited, a warehouse district on the east side of the city, circled in thick red ink. Her pulse kicked into overdrive. "Get units to this location now," Hartley ordered. He's not running. He's staging the finale. Officers mobilized instantly. Within 15 minutes, Hartley was en route to the warehouse with a convoy of patrol cars trailing behind her. Storm clouds rolled in overhead, casting the streets in metallic gray. The warehouse district was nearly abandoned rows of hollow buildings with shattered windows and rusted doors. Hartley stepped out of her car, weapon drawn, scanning the shadows. "Detective Hartley." The voice echoed across the lot. Rowe stepped out from behind a loading dock, hands visible, moving with that familiar right side lean. His calm expression hadn't changed. "You're earlier than expected," he said. "Patrick Rowe," Hartley called out, steady, controlled. "You under arrest." Rowe smiled as if the words amused him. "You finally caught up. Good. I was worried you'd miss the last chapter. Where's Daniel?" Hartley demanded. "Is he safe?" Rowe lifted his hands slightly. "Is alive. For now. This was never about killing him, Detective. It was about making him understand the cost of betrayal. Hartley tightened her grip on her weapon. Officers surrounded the area, taking positions. "People like you don't stop," Hartley replied. "This is over." But Rose shook his head slowly. "Not yet." He gestured toward the warehouse behind him. "He's inside, bound, but alive. I wanted you to find him. I wanted you to see what he destroyed." Hartley signaled 2 officers to flank the building. Rowe didn't move, didn't resist. He seemed to be waiting for something. And then Hartley realized why. A faint beeping echoed from inside the warehouse. She froze. "Bomb!" one of her officers shouted. But Rowe didn't flinch. His eyes were locked on Hartley. "You think I didn't plan for every outcome?" he said softly. "There was no project, no betrayal. That was never the motive." Hartley's breath caught. What was it then? Rose stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I wanted to see which one of you would figure it out first." The words sank in like ice. "This wasn't revenge," Rose said. "This was curiosity. I wanted to know how long it would take someone competent to untangle chaos I created." He smiled, and the expression chilled Hartley to the bone. "You did well," he said. "Better than most." Hartley's radio crackled. "Detective, we have eyes on Daniel. He's secure. The device was a decoy. No explosives." Relief washed over her, but only for a moment. Rowe clasped his hand behind his back. "And now my experiment ends." Before anyone could react, he stepped backward toward the edge of the loading dock. Officers rushed forward, shouting for him to stop. Rowe smiled one last time. "I needed to know if you could catch me, and what you would do once you did." Then he stepped off the edge. Officers scrambled to the dock. Hartley reached it in seconds, heart pounding, but she stopped cold. Rowe had vanished, no body below, no sign of impact, no blood, no trace. The area beneath the dock was empty. A single set of footprints led into a storm drain that opened into the city souls. Rowe had engineered his escape. Hartley stood silent, staring at the opening, the final realization settling over her like a crushing weight. Patrick Rowe didn't fail. He never planned to be caught. The entire case, the attack, the frame, the clues, the disappearance was a test. A test she'd passed, and one he planned to repeat. 3 months later, just as the city began to breathe again, a body was found in a parking structure on the west side. Same staging, same glove, same signature, and taped to the victim's clothing, a note addressed to Hartley. Round 2. If you think this story was intense, wait until you hear what comes next. Stay close, more cases like this are coming.